In the family, the father had the highest authority, the mother was only allowed to obey. On the outside, that family might be harmonious and happy, but there were terrible secrets hidden inside. The house was surrounded by tall walls. Actually, 3 children were confined inside. They didn't have access to the press, the internet. They only knew about the outside world through the knowledge of their biological father. The father was the director of the company. He earned a lot of money, which helped his whole family have a happy life. He often stays at home to play and study with his children. His only hobby was watching old videos over and over again. Time was slowly passing. His 3 children also gradually lost the ability to think independently. Their lives were like pre-programmed machines. In order to strengthen the position, the father set rules and arranged all activities in the family. People with a good attitude would have the right to give orders to others. Those who had bad attitude would be severely punished. The father deceived his children that the outside world was full of danger and terror. He lied that his brother was abandoned outside, and he also didn't know how his brother lived or died. Therefore, every day, the children just looked through the gate to see him go to work. Except at that time, the big gate of the villa was always closed. Although these children had grown up, they still only played childish games. The 2 daughters injected themselves with anesthetic, and whoever woke up first would win. The mother told them the plane in the sky was the same as the toy plane in the house. The eldest daughter and younger brother both admired the plane, because it could fly freely in the sky. Therefore, they rushed into the fight just because of the toy plane. Even the eldest daughter threw the plane over the wall, so she had to receive a heavy punishment from her parents. Obviously the toy was just outside the gate, but the son didn't dare to step outside. He just waited his father returning home, and asked him to pick up the plane toy. However, the father stipulated that if anyone wanted to ask for something, they had to have a good attitude. Therefore, the son always wore an elegant suit to greet his father. Meanwhile, the 2 daughters were trying to learn to swim to please their father. The father loved dogs so much, because he thought dogs were loyal friends. Therefore, he thought that his children had to obey like dogs. In order to meet the physiological needs of the son, the father also hired a female employee. She was brought in to satisfy his son's need. Because it was a mandatory rule, the son had no right to like or dislike. The girl's appearance gave the 3 of them new feelings. The 2 daughters even competed to sit next to her. The eldest daughter really liked this girl's hairpin, so she thought she needed to have a good attitude. Because of that, she also began to satisfy her physiological needs with this girl like her brother did. But the mother always monitored and supervised them. Therefore, when there was an unexpected situation, she would immediately call the father. Just like that, their lives were gradually passing. However, since that girl's appearance, the desire for the outside world of the 3 children gradually rose. One afternoon, while playing in the garden, the son accidentally discovered a wild cat. Because he had never been in contact with the outside world, he didn't know what kind of animal it was. The 2 daughters were also very scared, so he used garden shears to kill the wild cat. After that, the father also knew about this, so he immediately thought of a way. He intentionally cut his clothes, and then spilt fake blood all over his body. When getting home, he lied to his children that his brother was killed by a cat. He said the cat was a rampant animal, and liked to eat people. So he told the children to be obedient at home in order that they wouldn't be in danger. To scare the cat, the father even ordered his 3 children, and his wife to kneel, and learn the barking of dogs. He was very strict in teaching, just like the soldiers who trained dogs. In order to be able to forever control the children's thoughts, the father said that everyone has fangs. If their fangs fell out, they would be able to contact the outside world. Like that, the father would be able to control the future of his 3 children. Because the fangs of adults couldn't fall out automatically, the whole family seemed to be very happy, even they still danced to celebrate. However, the father didn't know his perfect plan still had an obstacle. It was that girl. She had brought a lot of new things to the 3 children. Like she taught the son the exact meaning of words. Or she even forced the eldest daughter to do a lot of strange actions. However, the eldest daughter also protested. One day, the daughter even threatened that girl, and said she would tell her father. That girl had to show the daughter a boxing clip. After watching, the eldest daughter also understood a bit more about the outside world, and she started to simulate the scenes in the clip like punching and kicking moves. She also began to doubt her father's control, and a life like a captive. The father quickly found out about it, and immediately destroyed that tape. After that, he also brutally beat his daughter. And then that girl was also beaten up, and wasn't allowed to enter their house anymore. The father thought nothing would happen, but human needs were inherently uncontrollable. And the son's need was a difficult problem. Because the father couldn't trust outsiders anymore, he decided to sacrifice his daughter. Although the mother didn't accept it, she didn't dare to protest, quietly combed her daughter's hair. This was really an incestuous and bizarre family. After that, the whole family was back to normal. They even danced happily at night. Each member was like a moving skeleton. However, only this perverted father felt happy, because there would be a new generation born to continue his tradition of control and domination. However, he rejoiced too soon. The eldest daughter already knew a little about the life, so she didn't want to be a toy that anyone could also control anymore. In order to be free, that night, she used a dumbbell to break her fangs. At that moment, she didn't feel any pain. On the contrary, she also felt liberated. Then she sneaked into the trunk of her father's car, because her father often drove to work. The next day, the father drove to work as usual. The eldest daughter had finally escaped from the house that had held her captive for 20 years. One day, promptly she would discover that the ocean was really big and beautiful, not like her father told her. Or maybe even death, she couldn't adapt to the outside world. Actually, there are a lot of people who are influenced by the environment and the thoughts of the people around them. Once it's made a habit, it's hard to change. If you want to explore the outside world, you also need to have brave. Brave in exchange for new things, as well as personal breakthroughs. The movie comes here. Thanks for watching. See you on the next movies.